The massive hall buzzed with the voices of 100 different alien species. Ambassador Taemin stood at the center podium, his blue skin pale with worry. Around him, the Galactic Council members sat in floating chairs arranged in perfect circles. Some had tentacles instead of arms. Others breathed poison gas through metal masks. But all of them were listening to his desperate plea. "Please, honored council members," Taemin said, his voice carrying across the vast chamber. "The humans of Earth are a peaceful species. They have done nothing to deserve this attack." A harsh laugh echoed from the war section of the hall. Jin Woo, the Void Hunter war chief, stood up from his spiked throne. His red eyes glowed with amusement. Black scales covered his massive body, and razor-sharp claws extended from his fingers. "Peaceful?" Jin Woo's voice was like grinding metal. "These humans fight wars among themselves constantly. Our scouts have watched them for months. They cannot even unite their own small planet." Council leader Yoon Seo raised one delicate hand for silence. She was ancient, even by the standards of her long-lived people. Her skin was like starlight, and her eyes held the wisdom of centuries. But today those eyes showed fear. "The Ethereal Collective has also studied the human homeworld," she said carefully. "Our reports suggest a caution." Jin Woo's massive form turned toward her. "Caution? Against a species that still uses chemical rockets? Their most advanced weapons are barely beyond nuclear fusion. My ships could glass their entire planet in a single day." "Your ships could glass any planet," Taemin said quickly. "That is exactly why the Council exists. To prevent such unnecessary destruction." The war chief's claws scraped against his throne as he sat back down. "The humans occupy prime real estate in the outer spiral arm. My young warriors need practice. It has been too long since we conquered new territory." Around the hall, other council members shifted uncomfortably. The Void Hunters had indeed been quiet for almost a year. Their last conquest had been the mining worlds of Kepler 442. The local population had surrendered after the first orbital bombardment. "The humans have natural resources," Jin Woo continued. "Water worlds are rare in that sector, and their genetic diversity could be useful for our breeding programs." Taemin felt sick. "You speak of an entire civilization as if they were livestock." "All weak species are livestock," Jin Woo replied. "The strong take what they need. This is the natural order." Yoon Seo touched a control panel on her chair. Holographic displays appeared above the council floor, showing Earth from space. The blue and green planet looked so peaceful, with white clouds swirling over vast oceans. "Our deep-range scanners have detected unusual energy signatures," she said slowly. "The humans may possess defensive capabilities we do not fully understand." Jin Woo laughed again. "Secret weapons? On a planet that still burns fossil fuels for energy?" Council leader. "With respect, your people have grown too cautious. When did the Ethereal Collective become afraid of shadows?" The insult hit its mark. Yoon Seo's starlight skin dimmed slightly. Around the hall, representatives from the more peaceful species looked worried. If the Ethereals were concerned, perhaps they should listen. But the war-loving species were growing excited. The rock creatures from Titan 7 began pounding their stone fists on their chairs. The insect warriors from the hive worlds clicked their mandibles in agreement. "The Void Hunters request permission to claim Earth as a training world," Jin Woo announced formally. "We will follow all council protocols for primitive species integration." Taemin knew what those protocols meant. Any species that resisted would be classified as hostile and face complete military suppression. Those who surrendered would become servant species, their best members taken for various purposes while the rest lived under occupation. "I call for an immediate vote," Jin Woo continued. "This council has delayed long enough." One by one, the council members cast their votes. The floating crystals above each chair glowed either green for approval or red for denial. Taemin watched in growing horror as more green lights appeared than red ones. The final count was 7 green, 4 red, with Yoon Seo's crystal remaining neutral white. "The motion passes," announced the council's AI system in its emotionless voice. "The Void Hunters are granted permission to initiate contact protocols with the human homeworld designated Earth." Jin Woo stood up, his massive form casting shadows across the chamber floor. "My fleet will depart within 3 solar cycles. The humans will learn their place in the galactic order." As the council members began to file out, Taemin rushed to Yoon Seo's floating chair. "This is madness," he whispered. "You have seen the classified reports. You know what the humans are capable of." Yoon Seo's ancient eyes met his. "I have seen fragments. Energy readings that make no sense. Technology signatures that should not exist on such a primitive world. But I cannot share classified intelligence in open council. Then what happens now? Now we hope that Jinwoo is right and we are wrong, she said quietly. Because if we are right about the humans... She did not finish the sentence. She did not need to. Taemin spent the next 2 days composing an emergency message to Earth. The humans had to be warned, even if they could not stop the Void Hunter fleet. Perhaps they could evacuate their leaders or negotiate some kind of surrender that would save lives. His message was simple. Unknown alien fleet approaching your world with hostile intent. Estimated arrival in 96 standard hours. Recommend immediate military preparation and attempt diplomatic contact if possible. The Galactic Council was unable to prevent this action. I am sorry. As his ship's communication array sent the message toward Earth, Taemin wondered if he would be remembered as the alien who tried to save humanity, or as one who helped destroy them. 3 days later, Jinwoo's battle fleet of 47 ships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. The war chief stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the small blue planet grow larger on his screens. Primitive radio transmissions detected, his communications officer reported. They are trying to establish contact. Ignore them, Jinwoo ordered. Begin the attack as planned. Target their major population centers first. Make them understand the futility of resistance. But as his ships moved into Earth's outer atmosphere, Jinwoo had no idea that he had just made the worst mistake in his species' long history of conquest. The humans were not primitive. They were not defenseless, they were ready. Admiral Hyunjae stood in the command center buried 3 kilometers beneath Seoul. The walls around him showed real-time images from satellites and ground stations across Earth. Red warning lights flashed as his officers tracked the approaching alien fleet. Sir, we're receiving their message now. Lieutenant So Young reported from her communication station. The translation software is working on it. Hyunjae nodded. 3 days ago, they had received that strange warning from something calling itself the Galactic Council. Most world leaders thought it was a hoax, but the deep space monitoring stations had detected the energy signatures of approaching ships. Big ships. Translation complete, sir, So Young announced. They're demanding our immediate surrender. They say resistance is futile and will only cause unnecessary suffering. How generous of them, Hyunjae said dryly. What's the status of our defensive grid? General Minho stepped forward. The older man had spent his entire career preparing for threats that everyone hoped would never come. Today, his worst fears and wildest dreams were coming true at the same time. All orbital platforms are active and waiting for your order, Minho reported. The enemy doesn't know about them yet. Our stealth technology is working perfectly. On the main screen, they could see the alien ships entering Earth's atmosphere. They were massive, each one the size of a city. Strange symbols glowed along their dark hulls, and weapon ports bristled from every surface. 47 vessels, Captain Yoon-ji announced from her tactical station, each one approximately 2 kilometers in length. Energy readings suggest advanced fusion reactors and what appears to be plasma-based weaponry. And they think we're primitive, Hyunjae muttered. Minho, activate the orbital defense grid. Let's show them how wrong they are. High above Earth, thousands of pieces of space junk suddenly came alive. What had looked like broken satellites and discarded rocket parts revealed themselves as sophisticated weapons platforms. The debris that had cluttered Earth's orbit for decades had been carefully placed and maintained by the world's space agencies. The alien fleet had walked into a trap. 50 years in the making, Captain So Young, now commanding the stealth destroyer Silent Storm, watched her targeting computer lock onto the alien flagship. Her ship hung invisible in the shadow of the moon, its experimental cloaking device hiding it from enemy sensors. Quantum torpedoes armed and ready, her weapons officer reported. Fire, So Young ordered. The torpedo streaked through space faster than the aliens could track. It struck the flagship's main reactor section and detonated with the force of a small star. The massive alien vessel split in half, its hull glowing white-hot as secondary explosions tore it apart. On the bridge of his dying ship, Jinwoo stared in shock at his tactical displays. How had the humans hit them? Their sensors showed no enemy vessels in range. War Chief, his communications officer screamed. More contacts. Hundreds of them. They're everywhere! The space around Earth lit up with weapons fire as the orbital defense platforms revealed themselves. Laser batteries, particle beams, and kinetic projectiles filled the vacuum with deadly light. The alien ships designed to fight other spacecraft in open space found themselves surrounded by an enemy they couldn't see or understand. "Impossible," Jinwoo whispered, as another of his ships exploded. The intelligence report said they were primitive. Dr. Yoonji watched the battle from her underground laboratory. Her fingers moved across holographic controls, coordinating the defense grid's AI systems. Each weapons platform communicated with the others, creating a web of overlapping fire that no enemy could escape. "Alien landing craft detected," her assistant reported. "They're trying to deploy ground forces in major cities." "Activate the surface defenses," Dr. Yoonji ordered. Across Earth, hidden weapon systems emerged from beneath city streets and rural hillsides. What looked like ordinary buildings revealed themselves as fortified bunkers. Underground railways that civilians thought carried trains actually transported military equipment. The alien soldiers who dropped from the sky expected to find panicking crowds and helpless defenders. Instead, they found coordinated resistance that seemed to anticipate their every move. In New York, alien drop pods crashed into Times Square only to discover that every building was a fortress. Automated turrets emerged from rooftops while human soldiers appeared from subway tunnels that connected to a vast underground network. In London, the aliens found their landing zones covered by overlapping fields of fire from weapons hidden in historical landmarks. The Tower of London had been modified to hide anti-aircraft systems, while Big Ben contained a communications relay that coordinated the city's defenses. In Tokyo, the aliens' advanced sensors were confused by decoy targets that led them into kill zones where human forces waited in ambush. The city's subway system had been converted into a military command network that allowed defenders to appear anywhere within minutes. General Minho coordinated the ground defenses from his command center. "The enemy is retreating from all major population centers," he reported. "Their casualty rate is approaching 70%. Above the atmosphere, the space battle was ending just as badly for the aliens. Of Jinwoo's 47 ships, only 12 remained functional. The rest were either destroyed or drifting powerless with their crews dead or dying. "War Chief," his tactical officer said urgently, "we must withdraw. The humans have superior numbers and position." Jinwoo's pride warred with his survival instincts. His species had never retreated from a weaker enemy, but these humans were not weaker. They were predators disguised as prey. "Signal the fleet," he ordered through gritted teeth. "Full retreat to hyperspace. We will regroup and—" His words were cut off as another human weapon struck his ship. This one didn't destroy the vessel, but it sent a powerful electromagnetic pulse through all the ship's systems. Communications died. Navigation failed. Life support began to flicker. Captain So-Young's voice came over the alien communication system. She was speaking perfect Void Hunter language, though her species had supposedly never encountered aliens before. "This is Captain So-Young of the Terran Defense Force," she announced. "You have exactly 10 minutes to evacuate your remaining ships and personnel. After that, we will destroy everything in our system that does not belong here." Jinwoo stared at the communication panel in disbelief. How did she know his language? How long had the humans been preparing for this day? "Sir," his communications officer whispered, "the humans are broadcasting on all frequencies. The entire galaxy can hear this." Jinwoo realized with growing horror that this battle was being watched by every species in the Galactic Council. The humans were not just defending themselves. They were sending a message to the entire galaxy. "Begin evacuation," he ordered. "All personnel to escape pods. We are abandoning ship." As his forces fled Earth's solar system, Jinwoo could not know that Admiral Hyunjae was already studying the wreckage of his ships. Human scientists were analyzing alien technology, learning their languages and planning their next moves. The humans had won their first battle against the galaxy, but they were just getting started. 3 weeks after the failed attack on Earth, the Galactic Council emergency session was in chaos. Representatives from across the galaxy watched the tactical displays with growing disbelief. The humans had done something that no species had ever attempted before. They were hunting the Void Hunters. "This is impossible," muttered the representative from the Crystal Collective. "Primitive species do not launch counterattacks. They celebrate survival and rebuild." Council leader Yoon Seo studied the holographic star map floating above the chamber floor. Red dots marked the locations where human ships had been detected. The pattern made no sense according to traditional military doctrine. "They are not attacking military targets," observed the delegate from the rock worlds. "Look at these coordinates. Supply depots, communication relays, training facilities." Ambassador Taman felt a chill run through his blue skin. "They are not trying to destroy the Void Hunter fleet," he said slowly. "They are trying to cripple their entire military infrastructure." On the far side of the galaxy, Commander Jae-sung stood on the bridge of the human stealth cruiser Ghostwalker. His ship was invisible to enemy sensors, floating in the asteroid field near the Void Hunter mining colony of Kresh 7. Through the viewports, he could see the massive mining platforms that extracted rare metals for alien warships. "Target analysis complete, sir," reported his tactical officer. 6 orbital platforms, minimal defensive systems. "They rely on the main fleet for protection," Jae-sung nodded, "which is currently running scared across 3 different star systems. Launch the attack." The mining platforms never saw death coming. Human torpedoes struck their fusion reactors simultaneously, creating a chain of explosions that lit up the entire asteroid field. Within minutes, decades of Void Hunter industrial development were reduced to glowing debris. But the humans didn't stop there. As rescue ships arrived to evacuate survivors, they found something that chilled them more than the destruction. The humans had left a message. Intelligence Officer. Na-young stood in her translation center aboard the command ship Terra's Sword. Around her, walls covered with alien text showed the fruits of her team's work. In just 3 weeks, they had decoded 7 different Void Hunter languages and learned their military communication protocols. "Sir," she reported to Admiral Hyun Jae via secure communication, "we have intercepted enemy fleet communications. They are regrouping at their main naval base in the Corvin system." "How many ships?" Hyun Jae asked. "Approximately 200 vessels, sir, but they are in disarray. Our attacks on their supply lines have left many ships without proper maintenance or full ammunition loads." On his command screen, Hyun Jae studied the intelligence reports. The humans had learned more about Void Hunter society in 3 weeks than most galactic species learned in decades. They had identified weak points, supply chains, and command structures with surgical precision. "What about their response to our psychological warfare?" he asked. Na-young smiled grimly. "Working perfectly, sir. They are starting to see humans everywhere. 3 different Void Hunter fleets have fired on their own ships because they thought they detected human cloaking signatures." Halfway across the galaxy, the Void Hunter War Chief Jin Woo sat in his emergency command center on the fortress world of Korthak. His red eyes were dimmed with exhaustion and growing fear. The reports coming in from across his territory painted a picture of systematic destruction. "Another supply convoy destroyed in the Helix Nebula," his aide reported. "No survivors. No evidence of the attack ships. How many does that make?" Jin Woo asked. 17 convoys in the past week, War Chief. Our outer colonies are reporting critical shortages of ammunition and reactor fuel." Jin Woo's claws scraped against his command throne. "Have we detected any human fleet movements? Any sign of their main force?" "No, sir. Our long-range sensors detect nothing. It is as if they appear from empty space, strike, and vanish again." The War Chief stood up and walked to the strategic display. Red markers showed the locations of recent attacks. They formed a pattern that surrounded his core worlds like a tightening noose. "They are not fighting like any species we have encountered," he said slowly. "They strike weak targets and avoid our main fleets. They target supplies instead of military vessels. It is dishonorable." His aide shifted uncomfortably. "War Chief, perhaps it would be wise to request assistance from the Council. The other warrior species could—" "No!" Jin Woo roared. "The Void Hunters do not ask for help against a species we were supposed to conquer in a single day." But privately, Jin Woo was beginning to understand that these humans were not like other species. They did not follow the rules of galactic warfare. They did not seek glory in battle or honor in victory. They sought only the complete destruction of their enemy's ability to fight. Back in the council chambers, Yoon Seo received another intelligence update from her people's deep space monitoring stations. The news was worse than she had feared. "The humans have been studying our military databases," she announced to the emergency session. "They have access to detailed information about Void Hunter fleet compositions, battle tactics, and strategic doctrine." "How is that possible?" demanded the representative from the Warbear clans. "Those databases are classified at the highest levels. They accessed them during the attack on their homeworld, Yoon Seo replied. When they captured Void Hunter ships, they also captured their data systems. The humans have been reading our military secrets for 3 weeks. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. If the humans could read Void Hunter data, they could probably read anyone's data. The galaxy's military secrets were no longer secret. There is more. Yoon Seo continued reluctantly. Our linguists have analyzed the messages the humans left at attack sites. They are not random threats. They are precise psychological profiles of Void Hunter command structure. The humans understand their enemy better than we do. Commander Jae-sung read the latest intelligence report from Na-young's team. The Void Hunters were finally massing their remaining fleets for a decisive battle. 200 ships versus the 12 vessels of the human task force. Any other species would have retreated. The humans prepared to attack. Signal the fleet, Jae-sung ordered. Begin approach to the Corvin system. Time to end this. Sir, his communications officer said hesitantly. We are outnumbered 20-1. Jae-sung smiled. Yes, but they are thinking like Void Hunters. We are thinking like humans. As the human fleet entered hyperspace toward their final confrontation, none of them knew that their battle was being broadcast live to every species in the galaxy. The Galactic Council had decided that everyone needed to see what happened when someone chose to attack Earth. They were about to learn why that had been a terrible mistake. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so quiet. Every representative sat frozen in their seats, watching the holographic display that showed the space around the Void Hunter homeworld of Korthak. What they were seeing should have been impossible. 12 human ships faced 200 Void Hunter vessels in the largest space battle in recent galactic history. But the battle was not going the way anyone expected. Impossible, whispered the delegate from the Hive Worlds. The humans are winning. Council leader Yoon Seo watched the tactical display with growing dread. The human ships moved in perfect coordination, striking the enemy fleet at weak points while avoiding direct confrontation with superior numbers. It was like watching a surgeon dissect a living creature. They are not fighting, she said quietly. They are executing a plan. On the bridge of his flagship, Commander Jae-sung studied the enemy formation with calm eyes. The Void Hunters had arranged their ships in traditional battle formation, expecting an honor duel between opposing fleets. Instead, they got a masterclass in asymmetric warfare. Target their command vessels, he ordered. Take out their communications first. Human torpedoes invisible to enemy sensors struck the Void Hunter Fleet Admiral's ship. The massive vessel's communication array exploded in a brilliant flash, cutting off coordination between enemy ships. Immediately, the Void Hunter formation began to break apart. Without central command, individual ship captains started making their own decisions. Some tried to pursue human vessels that vanished as soon as they were targeted. Others fired wildly at sensor ghosts that turned out to be empty space. Sir, reported the human tactical officer, enemy fleet cohesion is down to 30%. Their ships are firing on each other. In the council chamber, Ambassador Tae-min watched the battle with sick fascination. They are turning the enemy's strength against them, he observed. The larger the Void Hunter fleet, the more chaos they can create. This is not how civilized species conduct warfare, protested the representative from the noble houses. Where is the honor? Where is the glory of battle? Yoon Seo turned to look at him with ancient, tired eyes. The humans do not fight for honor or glory, she said. They fight to win. On the surface of Korthak, War Chief Jinwoo watched his fleet destroy itself through the windows of his command bunker. His species' greatest strength, their aggressive, individualistic nature, had become their weakness against an enemy who understood psychology better than they understood themselves. War Chief, his communications officer reported, Admiral Thekmore is requesting permission to engage the human flagship directly. Denied, Jinwoo snarled. That is exactly what they want us to do, but it was too late. Across the fleet, Void Hunter ship commanders were abandoning formation to pursue human vessels in individual glory-seeking attacks. Each one found themselves isolated and surrounded by enemies who seemed to appear from nowhere. In space, Admiral Hyun Jae observed the battle from his flagship Terra's Vengeance. His ship remained hidden behind Korthak's largest moon, directing the smaller vessels like pieces on a chessboard. Sir, his aide reported, enemy casualties are now at 75%. Remaining ships are requesting permission to surrender. Denied, Hyun Jae said calmly. They chose to attack Earth. They continue fighting until they cannot fight anymore. The Admiral's words were broadcast across all frequencies, ensuring that every species in the galaxy could hear them. This was not just a military victory, it was a message. Back in the council chambers, Dr. Chang Min, Earth's first official ambassador, had arrived to address the emergency session. He was a small, quiet man who looked nothing like the terrifying warriors currently destroying the galaxy's most feared military force. Honored council members, he began politely, I believe you have questions about my species. The chamber erupted in voices speaking dozens of different languages. Demands, accusations, and pleas for explanation filled the air until Yunseo called for order. Ambassador Changmin, she said formally, the Galactic Council requires an explanation for your species' military capabilities. Our intelligence report suggested that Earth was a primitive world with limited defensive systems. Changmin smiled gently. Your intelligence reports were correct, Council Leader. 3 months ago, Earth had limited defensive systems. Today we have the most advanced military force in the galaxy. How is this possible? Demanded the representative from the Crystal Collective. We learned, Changmin replied simply. When the Void Hunters attacked our world, they brought us samples of galactic technology, weapon systems, and military doctrine. We studied them. We improved upon them. We prepared for the next attack. The chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. The humans had not just defended themselves. They had used the enemy attack as a learning opportunity. In 3 months, your species advanced thousands of years? Asked the delegate from the rock worlds. We had excellent teachers, Changmin said, gesturing toward the tactical display where human ships continued their systematic destruction of the Void Hunter fleet. The enemy showed us exactly what we needed to know. Colonel Sung Hoon's report from the ground invasion of Korthak provided even more disturbing details. The human ground forces had not simply occupied the Void Hunter homeworld. They had studied it. The Void Hunter society is built on a strict hierarchy based on individual combat prowess, he reported to the council via secure transmission. Their social structure makes them vulnerable to decapitation strikes against leadership. Remove their strongest warriors and the entire culture collapses into chaos. You have been studying their society? Yun Seo asked. We have been studying everyone's society, Colonel Sung Hoon replied matter-of-factly. We accessed the Galactic Council databases during the first battle. We know the strengths and weaknesses of every major species. The silence that followed was deafening. Every representative in the chamber realized that their species' military secrets were no longer secret. The humans knew everything. What do you want from us? Asked Taemin, his voice barely above a whisper. Changmin looked around the chamber with calm, intelligent eyes. We want what we have always wanted, Ambassador Taemin, to be left alone to live in peace. And if we cannot guarantee that peace? Asked Yunseo. The human ambassador's expression did not change, but somehow his presence seemed to fill the entire chamber. Then we will guarantee it ourselves. On the tactical display, the last Void Hunter ship exploded in brilliant silence. 200 vessels reduced to space debris. The most feared military force in the galaxy had been completely destroyed by 12 human ships in less than 4 hours. The Void Hunter, species formally surrenders, reported Admiral Hyun Jai from the ruins of their homeworld. Their military capabilities are completely eliminated. Their government has agreed to all terms of unconditional surrender. Changmin turned back to the council. We did not seek this conflict, but we finished it. The question now is whether the galaxy has learned the same lesson the Void Hunters learned. What lesson is that? Asked Yunseo, though she already knew the answer. That some species are better left alone, Changmin said quietly. We hope the council will help ensure that Earth remains undisturbed in the future. As he spoke, every representative in the chamber understood that they were not listening to a request. They were listening to a statement of fact. The humans had become the galaxy's apex predator, and they were giving everyone else a chance to avoid becoming prey. 1 year had passed since the Battle of Korthak, and the galaxy had changed in ways no one could have imagined. Council leader Yun Seo stood in her private office, looking out at the space traffic around Nexus Prime, where once the orbital approaches had been dominated by military vessels from aggressive species. Now she saw merchant ships, science vessels, and diplomatic transports. The galaxy had become remarkably peaceful. The monthly reports, Council leader, her aide announced, placing a data tablet on her desk. Yuncio reviewed the information with growing amazement. Piracy was down 90%. Military conflicts between species had dropped to almost zero. Trade disputes were being resolved through negotiation rather than force. It seems everyone has remembered how to be diplomatic, she murmured. Her aide, a young member of her species, looked puzzled. Is that not a good development, Council leader? Yuncio's ancient eyes showed a mixture of relief and concern. It is an excellent development. I simply wonder how long it will last. She did not need to wonder why it was happening. Every species in the galaxy had watched the complete destruction of the Void Hunters. Everyone understood the new reality. There was a species in the galaxy that could end any military threat whenever they chose to do so. On Earth, Admiral Hyunjae reviewed similar reports in his underground command center. His desk was covered with formal requests from alien governments. Defense treaties, technology exchanges, trade agreements, all offering terms that would have been unthinkable a year ago. Sir, Lieutenant So Young reported, we have received another application for defensive partnership, this time from the Crystalline Republics. That makes 47 requests this month, Hyunjae noted. What are they offering? Complete access to their industrial replication technology, sir, plus exclusive mining rights in their outer systems. The Admiral shook his head in amazement. A year ago, the Crystalline Republics had voted to allow the Void Hunter attack on Earth. Now they were offering their most advanced technology, just for the promise of human protection. File it with the others, he said. Dr. Yunji's committee will review all applications next week. Dr. Yunji had indeed become one of the most important people in the galaxy. Her new position as Director of Galactic Technology Exchange meant she decided which species received access to human innovations and which did not. The waiting list for her approval was months long. In her laboratory complex, now expanded to include research stations on 3 different worlds, Dr. Yunji worked with alien scientists who would have been enemies a year ago. Former Void Hunter engineers, their violent culture broken, now contributed their knowledge to peaceful projects. The shield technology is ready for deployment, reported her research partner, a reformed Void Hunter named Keth Val. The colony ships from the reef worlds will be able to survive in previously uninhabitable systems. Dr. Yunji nodded approvingly. Excellent. Schedule the technology transfer for next month. Make sure their delegation understands the conditions. The conditions were simple but absolute. Any species receiving human technology agreed to use it only for peaceful purposes. They also agreed to immediate inspection by human observers if any violations were suspected. Most importantly, they agreed never to use human technology against any species under human protection. So far, everyone had agreed to these terms. Ambassador Tae Min found himself in the strange position of being one of the galaxy's most influential diplomats. As the primary liaison between Earth and the Galactic Council, he regularly received visitors who wanted him to arrange meetings with human officials. Today's visitor was particularly interesting. Ambassador, said the massive creature across from his desk, my people wish to formally apologize for our support of the Void Hunter attack on your allies. The Warbear clan representative was 3 times Taemin's size, with claws that could tear through battle armor. A year ago, this species had been one of the most aggressive in the galaxy. Now their leader was practically begging for forgiveness. The humans are not my allies, Taemin corrected gently. They are a sovereign species with whom we have peaceful relations. Yes, of course, the Warbear said hastily. We simply hope that our previous mistake will not prevent future cooperation. Taemin consulted his schedule. I can arrange a preliminary meeting with Dr. Chang Min's staff. However, I should warn you that the humans have very specific requirements for new partnerships. Anything, the Warbear representative said immediately. We are prepared to accept any conditions. After the meeting, Taemin reflected on how much had changed. Species that once settled disputes through conquest now competed to offer the most generous terms to potential human partners. The galaxy's power structure had been completely transformed. The transformation was most obvious in the council chambers themselves. Dr. Changmin had accepted a permanent position as Earth's representative, and his presence had changed the way the council operated. Debates that once lasted for days now concluded in hours. Proposals that might have led to military conflicts were resolved through negotiation. The council recognizes the representative from the mining guilds. Yuncio announced during the current session. The guild representative, a silicon-based life form, spoke through a translation device. Honored Council, we wish to formally withdraw our territorial claims in the Centauri sector. We believe peaceful coexistence with the local species is preferable to continued conflict. Changmin made a note on his tablet but said nothing. He rarely spoke during council sessions, but his presence reminded everyone of what happened to species who preferred conflict over coexistence. The session was interrupted by an urgent communication from the galaxy's edge. Long-range sensors had detected something approaching from the void between galaxies. Something vast and artificial. Energy signatures suggest advanced technology, the sensor technician reported. Estimated arrival in 6 months. The chamber filled with worried voices as species representatives considered the implications. An unknown threat from outside the galaxy was exactly the kind of crisis that had historically led to panic and military buildup. Changmin stood up slowly, and the chamber fell silent. Council members, he said in his calm, measured voice. It appears we have a potential visitor from beyond our galaxy. This could be an opportunity for peaceful contact with a new civilization. And if they are hostile? Asked the representative from the noble houses. Changmin's expression remained neutral, but everyone in the chamber felt the weight of his next words. Then we will handle it. The simple statement sent a wave of relief through the chamber. Whatever was coming from the void, the galaxy was not defenseless. The humans would be there to meet the threat, just as they had been there to end the Void Hunter menace. Yuncio called for order and began organizing committees to plan for first contact with the approaching entities. But privately, she realized that the galaxy had fundamentally changed. For the first time in recorded history, different species were working together instead of preparing for war against each other. 6 months later, when the massive ships from the Andromeda Galaxy finally arrived at the edge of the Milky Way, they encountered something unprecedented in their million-year history of conquest. They found a galaxy united under the protection of a species that had learned to turn any attack into a learning experience, and any enemy into either an ally or a memory. The beings from Andromeda had a choice to make. They could attempt conquest as they had in dozens of other galaxies, or they could accept the invitation to peaceful contact that Dr. Changmin transmitted to their fleet. Looking at the tactical, reports showing thousands of species working in perfect coordination under human leadership, the Andromedan war fleet made the wisest decision in their long history. They chose peace. The galaxy had learned that some battles are won before they begin, and sometimes the greatest victory is convincing your enemies that they never wanted to fight you in the first place. As Changmin often said in council sessions, the best way to end a war is to make sure it never starts. But if someone insisted on starting one anyway, it was important to make sure they could never start another. The galaxy had learned that lesson well.